What's your initial take on what you've heard or thoughts that pop into your head after seeing what's unfolded in Cleveland?
Well, one of my specialties is that I've studied serial profiling, of profiling serial killers. In fact, I teach a course on that at the university. And I immediately find it very interesting that there were 3 brothers involved. That's very unusual. We don't usually get this kind of case in a family where a family collectively holds people. It's pretty unusual.
Yeah, I don't remember ever hearing of a case specifically like that.
Well, there was a case up in where the parents, the mother and father, kept the children. They were released about 3 years ago. And I don't remember where it was. Cleveland?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was that chained up case of the Sandusky as well.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is kind of typical serial killing or serial control, where even though they didn't kill them, we don't know that they didn't kill other people. There was some kind of force that had to be involved in keeping these 3 young girls captive. We know from what the police are releasing is that there was some tape and other restraints used. We don't know all the details yet. That's still coming out. But we do have to determine what kind of force held the women there. Not just physical force, but psychological force. Something made them stay. We have the Stockholm Syndrome that's probably involved in this. And as hostage negotiators, we want the victims to develop the Stockholm Syndrome. It saves their lives. In fact, they have to become dependent on the people that take them as hostage and make them like them, get their trust. Otherwise, they would not have been able to escape.
What do you think about the psychological fear that may have been used?
Well, there was probably, since there's 3 of them, what typically happens is they will use the threat of force against the other 2 to hold each one in place. So if you escape, I'm going to kill these 2. If you escape, I'm going to kill your parents. I'm going to go get your brothers and sisters. And so there's always that psychological manipulation that's going on in these kinds of cases.
And as far as we know that the one victim had a child in captivity, and there have been reports of perhaps sexual activity against the victims.
Yes.
That doesn't surprise you, right?
No, it does not surprise me. And we have to be very sensitive because the victims, as part of the Stockholm Syndrome, would participate in that, typically would participate in that. And so we have to be very sensitive when we talk about that. But I would say that according to all the literature, that's very typically part of the domination that's involved in these cases, where the men want to dominate and subjugate the women sexually.
Does anything surprise you about the location, the fact that this is a crowded neighborhood, that it's not far from where they were taken, that they were held apparently in one location for 10 years?
Well, from what I saw in the tax maps, it was an unfinished basement, a very small basement. The lot sizes are very small, about 28 feet apart. And so the neighbors might be really hard on themselves right now, and they shouldn't be. Because what happens in the smaller neighborhoods where people are living right on top of each other, we need our privacy. And so we turn a kind of a blind eye and kind of psychologically give people privacy, especially if it's a dope neighborhood or drugs are involved or any gangs are involved. You typically want to go inside your houses and stay inside your houses where it's safe. In a neighborhood where the houses are a little bit more distant, then we tend to watch a little bit more carefully and kind of get more involved because we don't need that psychological space.
Do you think they tried to escape, or do you think they were too afraid to escape? Because people keep saying, how could there have not been an opportunity over 10 years?
Well, any attempt at escape in a situation like this would merit severe punishment. And we don't know what that severe punishment is yet. But it's like living in a concentration camp. You have to please the guards. The guards are there, you know they're there, you don't know when they're awake or when they're asleep. If there's 3 of them in the house, you've got 3 different shifts, and so you really don't know what they're watching. So you just have to live there. You can't take the chance of escaping until you know you can get out, until you know it's safe, and until you have that pressure inside of yourself where you've matured enough developmentally. You know, a teenager they're easy to control sometimes. And you can make them frightened and they can't escape. As they grow and mature in their 20s and 30s, that's when it becomes even more dangerous. the suspects have a typical age range of children that they like, and those women have grown out of that age range, and so they're less desired by the suspects. And so I'm very surprised that they were kept alive, and I'm very glad that they were kept alive.
Because they grew out of the range.
Because they've grown out of that range, that age range.
Stockholm Syndrome, you think, played a role in this case? You would think that they actually have empathy, sympathy for their captors?
Oh, absolutely. They would have to. They would have to try to get next to them, to like them, to get their favor. So they have to like them in order for them to like them back. These are individuals who need this kind of domination over a woman. So the more placating and submissive the woman is, the better her treatment.
But they're also doing what they have to do to save their lives.
It's to save their lives. They're very resilient young women. That they survived this long in those conditions indicates a great resiliency. And that's a wonderful thing to see.
One of the things that kind of surprised me, I guess, was the 911 call by Amanda Berry, where she said, "I'm Amanda Berry. I've been kidnapped. I've been missing for 10 years. I've been all over the news." Does it surprise you that she knew so much about the attention that her case had received? I mean, this guy must have allowed her access to the outside world in terms of news coverage.
Well, perhaps the television was playing upstairs and they could hear it in the basement. If they were kept in the basement, you can hear the news playing, and our brains recognize and hear our voices, our names, and so she would cue into that even from a great distance.
Anything else that you want to add that I haven't asked you?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. What chances do they have of getting back psychologically a normal life?
If you think of it as a blast furnace, some people go into a blast furnace and get destroyed. They're cinders when they come out. They're completely burned out. Some people come out hardened like diamonds. Beautiful, beautiful things. This is like a concentration camp. Some people go into concentration camps and they die there. Some people come out because of their resiliency. They are able to survive. These are survivors.
So you think they can have that strength? She seemed strong on her call. It was pretty amazing.
I think it's amazing how much strength they have developed.
And you think that there are other victims out there?
I think that there are very well may be other victims out there that the police are now searching for. And there may be bodies involved. There may be just victims that have been raped and left. It's hard. You never know. The police will search for it, and they'll look.
Was there something you wanted to add that I interrupted you the last time?
It's very unusual to have 3 brothers involved. I don't know of any other serial case that I've searched that had 3 brothers involved in subjugating women for 10 years or 12 years.